Hello and welcome to Business Daily on Trust Television, and we are set to keep you up to speed with developments in the world of business, finance, commerce, and the stock market is not left out. I am your host, Christiana Amodu-Otinya. Thank you for joining us on the program. Today we are set to commence your week with business updates, but we'll begin first with the headlines. So begin from what a Bretton Woods institution is saying. On the MPC, IMF advises the Central Bank of Nigeria to further raise monetary policy rate. Sugar tax. Soft drink makers may cut jobs over 20% excise duty. We'll bring more on those stories for you in the business roundup segment of the program. However, we'll take a short breather. When we return, time to look at what the numbers are saying in the stock market. Please stay. Welcome back. Now let's get straight into what's happening in the stock market. Of course, we'll begin from the local buzz in Nigeria, talking about the Nigeria exchange. Now, the Nigeria buzz ended the week on a positive note as we saw an appreciation of 1.09%, while the benchmark all share index ended at 44,492.73. Now, the market closed the week with a weekly gain of 1.19%, as against a 0.68% loss recorded in the previous week. Now, the exchange recorded 291.93 billion naira gain in naira terms. Now, in terms of activity levels, the total volume of 146.68 million shares, valued at 1.24 billion naira, changed hands in 3,028 deals on the floor of the Nigeria exchange. The market cap, the equity cap, settled at 24.23 trillion naira. Now, let's go over to other domestic bourses on the African continent. Let's see what's happening with the JSE and also in Ghana. Now, in Johannesburg, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange opened low at 0.77% to end at 72,019. Of course, trading is ongoing at the JSE. On the domestic front, investors on the JSE, they have turned their attention to reviews of South Africa's economy by Moody's, which is supposed to be released later today, with analysts anticipating no changes in the country's ratings and outlook. For Ghana, we are seeing a marginal climb. Now, these markets are opening. They are set to commence the week and looking forward to economic data and cues from economic managers on policy decisions, as that's what would also affect sentiment in the market. The GSC is up marginal 0.02%. Going over now to the S&P 500 futures in the United States, talking about what's happening in Wall Street. The S&P 500 futures fell early Monday ahead of another batch of retail earnings to kick off a shortened week for the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States. So we are seeing green arrows here for the U.S., but the markets in the U.S., of course, are focusing on retail earnings reports that are supposed to be reported in the week. But then the Thanksgiving holiday is upon us, and that will also shorten trade in these markets. Indeed, what are the markets thankful for? Now let's go over to Europe and see what's happening in the European Straits. European markets are marginally lower, as you can see from this board. The FTSE 100 in the UK is down 0.16%. The CAC run in France, the CAC 40, shed 0.20%. So opening largely in the red territory. However, for the DAX in Germany, climbed 0.24% at 14,410. And markets are being impacted by inflationary pressures and the possible trajectory of central bank interest rates. Talking about central bank interest rates, it is a big day back here in Nigeria, as the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is set to commence the last meeting for the year, 288th Monetary Policy Committee meeting. There's a whole lot of focus. Now, all eyes are pointed to Emefiele, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, and his team. Are we going to see the CBN still stay hawkish? We have seen jumbo rate hikes come from central bankers across the world, even the central bank in Nigeria trying all in its efforts to rein in inflation. So what are the expectations from the two-day monetary policy meeting? That's also the focus for the Nigeria exchange in Nigeria, and also the forex market. A lot of markets are monitoring what's happening especially with the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. Also looking for cues as to what the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, will say in terms of what's happening with the Naira redesign. We expect a follow-up to that from the governor. What's happening, the strength of the Naira in the forex market will also come into play. Inflationary pressures. A lot has been said about seeing more in terms of the marriage between the fiscal and monetary policy of the CBN. What are we going to hear the CBN governor say in his remarks, talking about the remarks that the meeting is expected to culminate Tuesday, and we expect the big decision, the big announcement to come in from the CBN governor. Let's move over now to the Asian Pacific market and see what's impacting markets in the Asia Pacific region. Now, there are COVID concerns on one hand in China, and also what's happening with central bankers keeping interest rate on hold. The Nikkei 225 in Japan climbed 0.16%. The Shanghai Composite in mainland China is down 0.39%, and the Kospi in South Korea shed 1.02%. So it's a mixed bag over here for Asia Pacific markets. Let's go over to the commodities market and see what's happening, especially with commodities. So we have more reds, of course, than green on this screen, as you can see right here. The greens we have coming from palm oil sector and the wheat sector. Talking about palm oil, Malaysia's Palm Oil Board warned that 2023 would be challenging for the oil market, which as a palm oil market, of course, which has battled volatility triggered by recession fears, the war in Ukraine, shifts in weather patterns, and the labor situation. Now, in near terms, disruptions to palm oil supplies because of tropical storms in top producers are expected to continue into the first quarter of the year 2023. However, for Brent crude, international benchmark for crude oil, Brent crude is down 0.65%. As you can see there, it's trading at $87 per barrel. Now, we have seen Brent crude oscillate around the $87 to $92 per barrel mark. We are hearing OPEC also giving out forecast for the oil market. Now, it's in the OPEC monthly oil market report, oil production increased mainly in Nigeria and Iraq, among 13 of OPEC members. In Nigeria, oil production based on direct communication increased by 77,000 barrels per day, month on month, from 937,766 barrels per day. For the bullion, the yellow metal gold also staying largely in red zone, down 0.36% there at $1,743. Remember, we also have the resource gold in Nigeria. So Nigeria is indeed blessed with a lot of these resources, but how much in terms of harnessing these resources to add economic value to the economy? Remember the glory days of the Granite Pyramids and how the agricultural sector was the mainstay. The President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration of said is going to work assiduously to diversify the nation's economy away from oil. That's the first chart you see there on that screen. But how far so far? Of course, it's not a sprint. It is said to be, it's going to be a marathon. But assessing the efforts, experts have said more needs to be done to diversify the Nigerian economy, whereby we can have more focus on the downboard here, as opposed to more focus on the topmost part of the commodities market chart you have here. Going over now to crypto, watch what's happening in the cryptocurrency market. What are the prices like? So now it's all heading down for the cryptocurrency market. All the prices are in the negative zone. Bitcoin is at $60,000. Ethereum at $1,122.90. And the Binance coin still staying at the $256.09. Now you can see what's happening. A lot is happening, especially from this market, and this has been impacted by what happened to the FTX exchange. Now, John Ray has been appointed to handle the restructuring of the FTX, and he said he has never in his 40-year career seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information in a company. Talking about what happened with FTX. Those are the numbers we have for you on the program today, talking about what's happening in stock markets across the world, of course. We'll monitor those developments and continue to bring you updates. However, now let's take the business roundup segment. We'll begin from what's happening in the monetary policy angle. The Monetary Policy Committee meeting starts today. Therefore, the International Monetary Fund has encouraged the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, to get ready to tighten liquidity even more. The IMF states in a report on its 2022 Article 5 mission to Nigeria that it prioritizes a decisive and effective tightening of monetary policy at this time in order to reduce the risk of inflation expectations becoming unanchored. The IMF encouraged the CBN to effectively tighten the monetary policy stance by fully sterilizing the effects of its funding of fiscal deficits on the money supply due to the complexity of monetary policy tools, market segmentation, and inadequate interest rate transmission. Now let's go over to tax system. The planned 20% ad valorem excise tax on non-alcoholic beverages for the carbonated soft drink CSD segment may result in employment losses in the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria of carbonated soft drink. The group noted that during its meeting in Lagos that the impact might be harsher because the industry is already severely affected by a tax regime of 10 naira per gallon. The group stated that a study showed an 8% income decrease as a direct result of the installation of the 10 naira per litre excise tax, and it also added that if nothing is done, it is predicted that the decrease will reach minus 25% by December 2022. Now that's all we have for the business roundup. On today's segment of the program, we'll be focusing on the agricultural sector. Now we saw the report of the inflation rate that came from Nigeria's Statistics Bureau, talking about inflation hitting as high as 21.09%, and food inflation on the other hand surging to as high as 23.72%. I am being joined on the program today by the chairman of the Agricultural Commodities Association Forum of Nigeria, Sadiq Dawari. He's joining me on the program today to talk about issues around the food supply value chain. Welcome to the program. I want to get your opinions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to get your opinion specifically on the food inflation that we have seen surge, especially in recent times. What's your assessment of that situation as someone that interfaces with farmers?
Thank you very much. Since the inception of the present administration, Nigeria have started seeing a lot in terms of agriculture. The government has supported agriculture, particularly the production aspect. And we have seen a lot of commodities in the market.
Yes.
We have seen a lot of factories coming up, both medium and large scale integrated rice mill to process what has been produced in Nigeria. So in essence, that Nigeria has been in agriculture, and in the last few years, government has supported the agriculture to an extent that people were gainfully employed. We have seen a lot of revenue coming out of agricultural produce. We have seen a lot of integrated and rice mills coming up to add value to what we are producing. So I believe to some extent this country has thrived in terms of agri-commodities.
Okay, so we'll get to hear further more on especially why we are having soaring prices from Sadiq Dawari after this short break, and the program continues. Please stay.
documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. Now, at this juncture, we have our guest with us in the studio already, and we are focusing especially on the food value chain. A lot has been said with regards to the soaring food inflation in the country at 23.72%, and also looking at how we can ensure that the agricultural sector adds immense value to the Nigerian economy, and what the private sector players are also doing in that end. Now, I still have with me in the studio Sadiq Dawari. He is the chairman, Agricultural Commodities Association Forum of Nigeria. Once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You were speaking about how we have seen agriculture. There's been a lot of dependence on the agricultural sector. Now, I want you to speak to these rising prices of food that we have seen happen in recent time, which we saw inflation, food inflation specifically, hit 23.97%. Can you give us some perspective now? Because I know these farmers, you speak with them, they talk to you about their challenges, what they are facing. Can you give us some perspective to why these prices are going up, why food inflation is soaring?
Thank you very much. The high rise of agricultural commodities in market to us is not didn't come as a surprise. As I've said earlier, since the inception of the present administration, the government has made tremendous effort in supporting the agri value chain.
Yes.
The production to an extent has increased from a mere 3.8 metric tons per hectare for a rice, for example, to up to 8 or sometimes even 10 tons per hectare. So it is the results of the intervention of the present administration. Farmers are becoming aware. They are taking agriculture as a business. They receive a lot of training on best agronomic practices, yeah. And the production has increased. However, there has to be an economics of production for every commodity. What you have seen as a increase in the price of the commodity is as the result of the high rise in the cost of production. We, before now, buy agricultural inputs as low as 25%. Yes. To this year, to some extent, it has raised up to 75%. Every aspect of agro input. For example, a 50 kg bag of fertilizer that have been costing 7,000, 8,000 before, today costs 23,000 naira in an open market. A liter of agrochemicals that support the production that costs 2,000, sometimes 2,200, today costs up to 5,000 naira. So you have seen a drastic increase, yes, in the cost of agro input, and it must reflect on the output. But most importantly in Nigeria today is that there is a lot of commodities. If you go to market, you see a lot of rice, you see a lot of maize in the market. The price has gone up as the result of the cost of agro inputs. So the problem now is between the high cost and probably the purchasing power. Yes. That has only been an issue. So there's nothing much to worry since we have an excess commodity in the market. I want to also get your thoughts on, basically now you're saying that a lot of this those that produce, of course, have to recoup what they have put into the production, and that's why we are seeing these prices go up. What kind of support now should these farmers expect? Because then again, if I go into the marketplaces, I want to be able to purchase foodstuff. I want to be able to take food back to my family at home. You mentioned rightfully that purchasing power is being eroded in the country currently. What kind of support are you expecting? Because I know the Anchor's Borrowers programs has been halted, and what are your thoughts on that? You see, globally, you can't be competitive in an agricultural environment when there is no support from the government, when there is no subsidy from the government. All these countries that you have seen that are boasting of agriculture, to an extent, government has been supporting them by providing enough logistics,
Yes.
by providing continuous funding in terms of finances, by providing security to the lives and investment of their farmers. However, Nigeria in recent times, we have started witnessing a lot of challenges. Challenges ranges from insurgency, banditry, kidnapping that we have been seeing going around the country, and recently flood that have ravaged the entire country. So those are basically the challenges that are facing the farmers, and we believe that government can do something so that it can avoid the situation. The problem we are seeing today can be addressed if government acted fast and serious. We have a lot of resources in the country, both land, both water, good climate conditions. So we have enough resources to leverage on and produce what can feed this country.
Do you think that there should be the Anchors Borrowers program of the CBN, probably the CBN should revisit its decision of halting that program and also commence funding of these farmers? Although the CBN in its right said a lot of farmers are not paying back, the monies are not being invested rightly. Do you think this is the time for probably that conversation to commence?
We appreciate the effort of the federal government through the central bank by supporting farmers under the Anchors Borrowers program. But we also need to understand one thing, that before the coming of this Anchors Borrowers program, Nigerian farmers are not trained. Nigerian farmers are not well included in the financial sector of the economy. What we witnessed before is that people just go to farm and produce and keep what they can probably consume in the houses and probably have little that they can sell in the market. Nobody is taking agriculture as a business. The larger percentage of what we are seeing today in Nigeria is produced by smallholder farmers. Those are farmers that are not even on the government record.
Yeah.
But with the coming of the Anchors Borrowers program, people are becoming aware that yes, agriculture can be considered as a business just like any other entrepreneurship. So a smallholder farmer that has been producing an acre or probably a hectare before can now produce up to 2, 3, or sometimes up to 5 hectares courtesy of the Anchors Borrowers program. We have appreciated the effort of the central bank. But however, in recent times, the central bank have halted giving out support to Anchors Borrowers program on the reason, as you have mentioned, that people are not paying back the loan. But we need to understand that those type of process has to be gradual. People need to understand very well. Even a corporate institution, corporate organization in Nigeria sometimes find it very difficult to repay back loan 100%. Talk less of a smallholder farmer who is in the village, who has never had a bank account, has never had anything called BVN, so we have enrolled them. So it has to be gradual. I'm not expecting that because central bank has deployed resources and expect 100% repayment from the beginning. If we have seen 10% repayment in the first year, if there is a gradual increment to probably 20 or 15% for the second year, we believe that over a period of 5, 6, 7, up to 10 years, then the farmers will be more informed. They will understand the importance of getting loan, utilizing it appropriately, and paying back. Government will also appreciate by understanding that those smallholder farmers can produce and stabilize Nigerian food security. So it has to be gradual over time.
Okay, so the call is for there should be some kind of window group that for these farmers to be able to pay gradually.
Sure. Especially now that there are a lot of issues. Okay. A farmer that have received loan probably to produce 1 hectare, and as the result of that, there is an insecurity in the area. He has no other option than to run for his life. How can he pay back? A person that have received probably 200,000-300,000 naira to produce 1 hectare, at the end of the day, the flood has washed out his farm. How do you expect him to pay? But if the government can continuously support these farmers I believe they can be able to pay what they have been owing, and probably they can continue production so that over a period of time,
yes,
they can be on their own.
Okay, just before I let you go, I want to just get your thoughts in 1 minute, basically. What are your expectations? We know that the planting season is supposed to commence. What are your expectations as we end the year and as we go into a new year? 1 minute.
Yes, now we are at the harvest period for the,
yes,
for the wet season,
yes,
and we are approaching dry season. We believe with the enormous resources we have on ground, both land, water, and good climate condition, Nigerians can be able to close the gap, can be able to realize what they have lost during the wet season when we have flooding over. Most importantly is that government should understand that for us to have, for us to raise our shoulders high and claim that Nigeria is the giant of Africa,
yes,
they have to continuously support agriculture.
Yes.
Any slight delay or any slight halt can jeopardize the entire process, the entire gains that the government has realized over a period of time. There is no break. It has to be continuous.
Thank you so much, Sadiq Dawari, the Chairman, Agricultural Commodities Association Forum of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on Business Day.
Thank you very much.
Of course, like he has said, government, the process needs to be gradual. Thank you for also investing your time with us on the program. Remember, you can catch up on updates of news and the polity and also all the updates on business on our social media platforms. Get updates on news as they break. I am your host, Christiana Amodu Otinya. Continue to stay safe.